So my name's Cody and I work as part of our 360 European division in clinical operations. I support our permanent team. So I've been here since July 2022. So we are MEET. We are a global life sciences talent provider. We have offices in London, New York, San Francisco, San Diego and Berlin. So clinical operations is pretty much anything that supports the clinical trials from start-up to study closeout, everything that supports the production of new drug development.
My name is Chris Warman. I am one of the division managers here at MEET. I've been here since 2021 and I head up the clinical operations client partner division here. So clinical operations is the doing element, I like to think of drug development. So the concept of a drug is created in a laboratory and it is very much at the research and development stage. What then needs to happen, once it has initial approval, is to go through to clinical trial. And what that means is making sure that this drug is actually safe for human consumption and safe to go out to market. Now that is broken down into normally 4 or 5 different phases, and they can be very complex and it's quite time consuming. It normally takes on average kind of 4 or 5 years for a drug to really go through this process, and that's essentially the kind of doers, the worker bees as we like to call them, of a clinical trial, or the people that we recruit for, so people like CRAs, CTMs and CPMs.
So my name is Jakk I'm part of the permanent pharma division, so I work in the clinical operations team, and I've been here since May 2021. Without clinical trials, without planning, execution or managing, drugs will not go to market. There's no safety measures in place, there's no ensuring that the drugs are safe, because if the clinical trials don't go ahead, then there's no way of determining if that drug is worth progressing, going to market and being successful.
So a good clinical operations team will effectively mean that the time frames from when a drug is created in concept through to when a drug actually gets out to market is reduced as much as possible. Obviously it's a long process and needs to be a safe process and everything is matched, but the lag time, or the more that lag time can be reduced, the more profitable it is obviously for a pharmaceutical, because obviously the research and development stage is the most expensive part of any for any pharmaceutical, and to get that product out to market is when they can finally start making some of that money back, and the sooner that they're able to do that, the more profitable it is for them.
My name is Jakk. I head up our clinical operations contract and freelance division here within the UK and Europe for MEET recruitment, and I've been here since August 2021. I don't think it's a secret that companies are working on less clinical trials than they have been previously, and therefore they are prioritising the ones that they truly believe in, and with that comes a need for a more flexible workforce. I think that it's attractive to be able to bring someone in for a specific project, a specific phase of a clinical trial, and then essentially let them move on to the next company or next project.
So I think there's been an interesting shift in the market from the start of this year. So I think that post-COVID, there was a real explosion in roles, because obviously a lot of things were put on hold during COVID times, and then after that kind of ended or started to end, there was a huge demand for increased volume of roles, because suddenly everything needed to get done that had been kind of slowed up by COVID. And so we saw a massive boom in roles, which meant that it was a very candidate-driven market. What has happened since then is there's been a bit more of a levelling out. That's only really come into effect at the start of this year, and now it's very much a 50-50 between jobs and candidates, and I think that levelling out had to happen and was expected, and it probably actually came a little bit later than we were expecting, but I think now it's returning to a more pre-COVID level, and returning as much to normal as it ever can be in recruitment. Obviously there's always ups and downs, but to a much more stable level.
I would say that candidates are pretty much looking for career progression. It's the thing I hear day in, day out, consistently looking for that next step. What does their career look like a year down the line, 5 years down the line, and where can they grow?
I think that obviously we've seen, that shift to things like working from home, working remotely. That's always been a much more of a factor in clinical operations naturally, but I think that it's something that has expanded during COVID, and I think that's something that's just going to stay within clinical operations because it works. A lot of what our candidates do is going directly onto site, but when they're not going directly onto site and they don't need to be on site of a clinical trial, they can do everything that they need, the reporting and whatnot, from a remote location, so they don't then need to be in their office. So it's something that's always been there, but I think it's something that's increased and is only going to kind of stay in place moving forward.
We've had about 15 years of building a robust pipeline of candidates, clients. We support everyone from their very beginning of the career as a CTA to the VP of clinical operations. So we've got a really robust clientele of people that we support consistently. We ensure that we don't just actively headhunt, we keep in contact with people. So we build really strong relationships, client partnerships. So we ensure that the services that we provide aren't just short-term, they're long-term to support companies' growth.
Ultimately, it's our job to speak to the best contractors on the market day in and day out, and we work with a variety of clients here ranging from large pharma to small biotechs, and what we will do is we'll ensure that we are putting somebody into your business that is the best fit, that has come from a similar background, a similar client, to ensure that they hit the ground running and they will supplement the work that you're doing within clinical operations from the minute that they get in the door.
So the team that I work for and manage is specifically client partners. So what that means is we are a delivery team, so we don't go out and constantly try and solicit new business. What we do is we focus on and kind of compound down on the existing businesses that we work with, and building those relationships. As I say, it's client partnerships, so we really try and treat it as a partnership between us and the end employer, and I think that's the way that it works best. I think often in recruitment it can be very transactional, and ultimately we are a representative of the businesses that we're trying to recruit for, and if you're constantly changing those businesses and you're just working with them on an ad hoc basis, it's very hard to actually be able to give a true reflection of those organisations. And I think the best way of being able to do that is by building those relationships, working with them for a long time, and then being able to actually give a real indication of what those organisations are like.
So if you are in need of any clinical operations staff, if it's a CRA, project manager, even directors, head of clinops we've been working with recently, please reach out. I'm more than happy to help, and like I said, go through a really detailed briefing with you to identify your needs most importantly, and then hopefully we can help and source that for you, and build a long-term partnership. That's what I'm looking to do really. No, not short-term solutions, trying to build these long-term partnerships that we can work for a long